you want me to
go.
say something, interview you, or
Whatever you want.
Yeah, I think.
Are you? Is it on?
Well, yes, on. But what you were saying about breaking up, the pain, the depth of feeling that.
No, here's where I want to start. When I met Timothy Leary, we both decided that this was the greatest turn that destiny could ever take in both our lives. And both of us were looking for the greatest love ever lived. And we believed that that's what we were living together. And every single mythology about love talks about that, talks about the lovers being separated, the perfect lovers being separated in the most horrendous way. And then maybe one of them dies because that kind of love cannot blossom in society. So we both knew the first night we took LSD together that we had found this love beyond all love that covered every category of love you could ever imagine, and that was the greatest myth that ever existed. And we were both ready to feel that way about each other, to feel personal, transpersonal, spiritually absolutely connected. And we were together for 6 weeks, and we made love for 6 weeks under the effect of LSD. And for me, it was totally dissolving into the beloved, but the beloved at many different levels. I mean, the beloved as in God, the beloved as in the divine feminine. It was complete dissolution, and then re-emerging into being one body, into being one being, into being together beyond any intimacy that you could dream of. Having two bodies, we were one body. And then he's captured, and I saw it mythologically. I mean, there is my lover that gets captured and pulled away by an army of strangers, talking about the DEA, and then I'm left, and I have only one longing, and it's to reunite with this eternal lover, with the love, the great love, the perfect love. And I never realized that. I mean, I never questioned the fact that I would have to grab him. I would have to pull him out of the clutches of the toughest system on earth, except for the Russians at the time. I just saw him as caged as the great philosopher, the ultimate lover, caged away from me, his perfect love. And I went into these prisons. I seduced every warden you can imagine into letting me see him every single day or every 4 days. And I would have walked from San Francisco to Folsom Prison to make love with him in every visiting room possible. We were allowed to kiss at the beginning of our visiting that would last 4 or 5 hours, but then we sat together and we told each other sexual, erotic stories that I was aware that I was Scheherazade telling stories to her lover, the 1,000 Nights, and I was aware of that, and that was my commission. That's what I was supposed to do. I was supposed to keep this man and my woman's life force at the maximum intensity as the eternal lovers, as the greatest lovers that had ever lived. And we talked to each other in these prison visits with an intensity of love, with a reverence, with a beauty that I don't even know any poet or poets that could speak in that way. I read Rumi poems and I remember the way Timothy Leary spoke to me as the beloved and how I was inspired to answer him as the absolute beloved. There was nothing that was going to stop us from being together, except he was in solitary confinement in the deepest bowels of the American prison system, and I had to come in through a different door than he did every time. And I dreamt of nothing more than us going out through the same door to a beautiful bed. We spoke about the bed where we would meet and when we would be able to make love with each other deeply, physically, mentally, spiritually. We dreamt of the moment we would be back in ecstasy together every day of those, 600, 900, 1,000 days, 1,000 nights we were separated. And I would have done anything to get back together with him, because I have never experienced before, and I have never experienced after, the reverence that this being had for the perfect love which he and I felt we had for each other. I have never. Are we? I have never been able to talk about this love, which was truly mythological and tantric, by the virtual reason that we were separated, but we were never separated for a moment. We spoke about the babies we would have, and we spoke about the babies we would have because by that we meant that my egg and his sperm would be entangled, fertilized, because of how much we loved each other. And I could never talk about this after he left me, because this love broke my heart to a degree. It's like when sometimes people ask me what happened, and I say I died, but I never lingered on why I said that. I said that because my heart broke into thousands of pieces, because we never imagined what would happen when he got out of prison. We imagined that we would live paradise together. And instead, we were both so hurt and so damaged and so tortured by what the American prison system had done to both of us. He was 2.5 years in solitary confinement. I was treated like shit for being the wife of the most dangerous man in America. Him as a psychologist, never imagined what would happen to us when he was released. We imagined paradise, but instead there we were, so damaged and so wounded that we turned against each other. The lovers, the perfect lovers, we watched ourselves turn against each other because we were so wounded. And that was as mind-blowing, as imprevisible as us sharing so much love when he was in prison. Both these things were absolute paradoxes, that we could make love and share love in such a deep way when he was in prison, and then that when he got out, our social and psychological wounds would get in the way in such a way that we could no longer be lovers. And the fact that after he got out, after some months that he got out of prison, he blamed his turning states and federal evidence on me, I've just understood in the last few days. When he made that decision, he was a caged animal. He was in the most terrible cages you could be in, except for Siberia, maybe. And the decision that he made to be with his lover when he was in his cage was not necessarily a decision that he could live in the real world. But there was no way he could know that, because being in solitary confinement and being in real life are two different worlds. They're two different worlds. They're like the difference between heaven and hell. You cannot imagine heaven from hell, and you cannot imagine hell from heaven. And so, what could he do? He chose to survive. And his survival was about betraying me. And my heart was broken. Because there was no more beautiful love than the love that he and I shared. It was such a contrast. And I could never imagine that we could be apart. And maybe we've never been apart, because I dream about him a lot. We have a very, very active love life in my dreams. So I know I'm the only one who knows.